I think we might kick off there just in the interest of time, and then I'd be sending a recording anyway to anyone that joins late, so they'll be able to view all the information in any case. So hello everybody, you're very welcome. If you haven't heard me say there, we're just going to start with an overview of the postgraduate programs. Then we'll have insights from two of our programs from our panelists here today, Naomi and Patrick. Thank you for coming. You're very welcome, and thanks for giving up your time to share insights with students who are interested in pursuing further study in history. And then we'll take questions from the floor, so you can input your questions into the chat there. If you have any questions on any of the programs or want to learn more. So just to let you know also, this session is being recorded just for awareness of the audience in attendance here today. And it will be shared after the webinar here also. So I'll just kick off with a very quick overview of our postgraduate programs in history here. So I'll just quickly share my screen, and you might let me know if you can't see, but you should be able to see there in a second. Right, I hope you can see that anyway, and I'll just put it into presenter mode there. So just to give you an overview of the various programs we have on offer in the Department of History here. So we have an MA in History, which is a one-year full-time program, an MA in History of Family, which is offered hybridly, both on campus and online, and is offered 1 year full-time or 2 years part-time. The MA Public History and Cultural Heritage is offered online and is a 1 year full-time or 2 year part-time program. The MA Local History is offered every 2 years. It's running this year, but it will be accepting applications in 25-26 for the following academic year, 26-27. So you won't be able to apply this year, but you'll be able to apply next year. And the MA in Irish and Global Conflict History is a relatively new programme in comparison to some of our other programmes, and is offered 1 year full-time. So that's just an overview of our postgraduate programmes overall. There's further information on the Department of History at their departmental website there. And to apply to the above programmes, you can click on that link, but you can also Google MA History, UL, and it will come up there as well, for example. So you can find direct links to the program, your program of interest that way also. Just to give you an overview on the modules and electives on offer in both semesters. I hope you can see the writing. There's a lot to cover in the different programs, but it just gives you an idea of the structure of the programs overall. So generally you would have concepts and methods and research methodology modules as core, and then you would take electives in various different areas. For our MA History and MA History of Family, and our MA Public History and Cultural Heritage, they do tend to share modules at times, which you can see there because they are repeated a bit. The MA Irish and Global Conflict History programme, I suppose that's more focused on a more modern era of history. So they would have a difference in modules compared to our other MA programmes also. So that's the autumn semester there. So you can see the variety of core and elective choice we have on offer there. And for the spring semester, you can also see the various options on offer, just to highlight the public history internship as part of the MA History and the MA Public History and Cultural Heritage programme as well. And again, you see the research seminars and dissertation modules, as well as modules relevant to the scope of the different programmes also. Just to note also, I'm sure you're all aware of this as undergraduate students, but at postgraduate level, you would have to complete a dissertation in the summer semester as part of your programme of study, and that usually is about 15 to 20,000 words. So what do our graduates say about the programme? We have a wide variety of people coming onto the programme, both internationally and nationally, and also joining remotely or joining in person as well. So we've quite a diverse student audience, and I suppose a diverse way of them interacting with our programmes as well. The first graduate there, Caden, she actually did the programme completely online. She liked it because it was so flexible, and her first time stepping onto campus in UL was at her graduation. So it was quite interesting. If you look at the UL social media channels, she featured her journey over to UL for graduation, which was quite interesting. Also, Padraig Hogan is a graduate of the MA History of Family, and he's fascinating role actually as an air hunter. So he works for Air and Research, which researches. It works for, I suppose, illegal solicitors and the like, researching people who die without a next of kin and looking for heirs to I suppose their whatever they they have left behind, so it's quite an interesting role there as well. And Kelly Marr is a graduate of our MA in history, and she she highlighted really the personal relationship she had with her lecturers and course director, and I think that is a feature across the MA programs, is that you do have that close relationship both with your lecturers and the course director of your program, but also you gain access to their network of contacts, whether that be the Department of History's very special connection with the UL Library, in particular special collections, and working closely with the wider regional network, whether that be museums and the like, locally and regionally, here in the Midwest region. So there's quite a nice comments there. As you can see, like Caden liked the flexibility of the program. Padraig was very complimentary about the teaching and the variety of topics, and also just to note, as he's noted there, the different field trips that MA students would have gone on. Like they go to Glasnevin Cemetery, they go to the Irish Tenement Museum, they visited archives. So they do really try and explore different ways to bring the content that you're studying to life, also as well. So that's a nice element to our MA programs here at UL also. So just to highlight the different emails for where you can contact the different course directors for the various programs. So Niamh Gowan would be the contact for the MA in History, Leanne Calvert for History of Family, Carol Mullaney Dignam for the MA Public History and Cultural Heritage, David Fleming for the Local History Programme, and either Aaron Donaghy or Ruan O'Donnell for the MA Global and Irish Conflict History Programme. And as I've mentioned, there's links for how to apply, but you can also ask me questions directly on the how to apply or any queries regarding the application process as well. I'm happy to take questions there. So that's the end of my presentation there. I'll just exit out of this view so I can see everyone, and I'll stop sharing there. So next we're going to move on to our panelists there. So Naomi and Patrick, you're very welcome, and thank you very much for coming to speak with us today and give your insights into your programs of study. So I might just ask you to quickly introduce yourselves there first. Naomi, we might start with you and then move on to Patrick, if that's okay.
Hi, so I'm Naomi, and I did my undergraduate degree in English and History, and then I did the MA History last year, and now I'm in the first year of my PhD.
Thanks, Naomi. And Patrick?
Hi, everybody. My name's Patrick Skelly, and for my undergraduate, I did a two-subject moderatorship, so that was history and Spanish, and now I'm doing the Public History and Cultural Heritage Masters in my first year in UL.
Very good. Thanks, guys. So firstly, I just want to ask you both why you chose to do a master's at UL. I know, Naomi, you probably have a connection through your undergrad and that sort of thing, but you might just elaborate on why you decided to pursue further study at UL.
So I felt like I was really connected with the history department in UL from working with them in my undergraduate degree, and they're always really encouraging of me pursuing research, and they really helped me develop skills. So I felt like I wanted to go further with. And even though I was kind of looking at other options like teaching, and because a lot of people do go into that with history, I still felt like this was something I really enjoyed more. And in UL, I just felt like there's a good sense of community and support for the students. So I just felt more drawn to doing it here.
That's great. And how about you, Patrick?
Yeah, definitely echo a lot of what Naomi said there. I suppose for me, the same course is available in, I'd say, 3 or 4 other universities, but a lot of them don't really do kind of the flexible or fully online, which I was definitely attracted to. Just kind of allowed me to do a few different projects at the same time and things like that. So I think the flexibility, but also, yeah, the support is really great, and all the online things work really well. And even though it's fully online, you can also go in person. We've been having some research seminars, and you can attend those in person as well. So it's not completely fully online. You can get a good mix and get to know people as well. So yeah, I think the flexibility for me was the key thing with the UL kind of going into that.
That's great. And you mentioned the supports there, Patrick, just around supports available to students. As a person who's pursuing a program online, can you just elaborate a bit more on that? Like how you feel you're supported? What supports do you have access to? Do you feel you're able to access everything you need? And how does that work for you as an online student?
Yeah, so basically just kind of how the course works, I suppose. Everything is on Brightspace, so you basically just log into the portal, and then every Monday at 8 a.m. your kind of lectures are posted, and you can watch them kind of when you want. And also there's audio as well, so say if you're going, for a walk or something, you can just kind of put it on in your ears, stuff like that. And then you have the readings and stuff there as well. And we have discussion panels, stuff like that, so you can post in those if you have any questions. And then every Friday we have the live in person. So that's like 2.5 hours. But that's with, so the MA History and History of the Family joined that one as well, the Irish Cultural History module. So that's good as well to get like a live chat as well. But I suppose the sports, all the lectures are just really accessible, and they get back to you straight away on most things. So it's very good like that, and just general supports as well. I know there's a big focus on like mental health and stuff. So every Monday they kind of focus on a different theme of mental health and stuff like that as well. So it's very good, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of different supports there, but that just gives you an idea. Anyway, you're never kind of left wanting in terms of emailing into the dark or anything like that. So.
That's great. It's kind of the difficulty sometimes of online programs in that you don't have that person that you can go to after a lecture. So, it's great to feel that you are supported. And Naomi, you might elaborate as someone who's gone on to further study a PhD level. I suppose you've that journey the whole way through, but can you elaborate a bit more on the supports available to students on campus as well, potentially? Do you know?
Yeah, I feel like there is a lot of support. Like there is the counselling service, and like there's the writing centre too, which I know a lot of my friends found really useful, because even if they hadn't studied history before, it's like a really good place to go and just kind of brush up on like maybe referencing or just how to kind of phrase things better. And I feel like as well, like it's really nice to be able to just like drop in and like talk to like your supervisor or your lecturers. And there's like the student unions are also brilliant too. Like there's a postgraduate like student union where you can go in and like you can heat up your food. There's kettles. There's just like a place to kind of meet people. So I think it's like a really nice kind of community and like a place that where you can kind of relax, but also like you can talk to people who are studying something similar to you and maybe get some help with what you're doing.
Yeah, it's great actually. They offer great service, the PSU, and they have a great team there this year as well. So it's nice to see that it's kind of developing and being used as well. Um, so what do you think makes UL unique in comparison to other universities? I know, Patrick, you mentioned that the flexibility of delivery is one element, but is there anything else that you think is unique to UL in comparison to other institutions that you may have interacted with and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I think the flexibility is a big thing. I wouldn't say like informality is the thing that I noticed, but definitely there's a sense of everybody is on kind of an equal playing field, and everybody is trying to learn as well. And just a general sense of encouraging people to be the best they can be in that sense. And I feel that really does come across from the lectures and stuff, and the sense that you're never too afraid to, ask a question, stuff like that. Like everybody is generally, or is really, really supportive. And just in comparison to probably my like my undergraduate, where you'd almost be afraid sometimes to go and meet someone or stuff like that. And yeah, I just think the online environment again. I had kind of done my undergraduate half through COVID, so they just really weren't prepared for that. So it's great to see that they have a really functioning one here in UL, and it's really working well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always operated online, and I think the Carol, the person that's leading that program, Carol Mullaney Dignam, is very experienced in that area. So I think it really shows, I suppose COVID was a very unique situation, wasn't it? And a lot
Yeah.
of institutions were kind of caught a bit, but it's, I think with online programs, they have to work and they have to be supported. And it's nice that you're having a positive experience in that regard. So for yourself, Naomi, you're kind of a UL stalwart, and you've kind of had a whole journey through UL. But what do you think is unique in UL that you've kind of observed?
But I think like from talking to my friends that have gone to like other universities, I feel like in UL like you just get like a good experience where like in the undergraduate you get the opportunity to like do study abroad and like the co-op. But even in the masters, like I did the MA history, but I got to go and do like a work placement in the archives in the Glucksman Library, and I actually work there like 1 day a week now. So I feel like you get to make like really good connections, and like your lectures are really good, like guiding you into like what might suit you more, and like what archives you can visit. And I think like the trips you get to go on in the masters as well are really useful. So I feel like there is just a lot of like support from the lecturers, and like I agree with Patrick, they're very approachable. And I feel like compared to other colleges, you just feel like it's maybe more personal than some of my friends would describe it, where like you feel like you actually know the people you're talking to. You're not really just like, even though there's a lot of people who study history, you feel like they kind of know you and what you're interested in. They actually want to help you progress.
And you mentioned the archives there, Naomi, and I always think it's like the most fascinating place in UL. It's amazing, like the amount of kind of archival material that is there actually that you wouldn't even realize is there. And it's from a historical perspective, it's there's so much there in different areas. So can you elaborate on that internship actually, and how you found it and what you were working on even? It's just interesting for people to understand that a bit more actually.
Yeah, definitely. So I wasn't really sure, like in the masters, if I wanted to like continue with research and maybe go into like something like archiving, but I didn't really know what it involved. So like from like day one, they like gave me like a really good like rounded view. Like I got to do like a lot of like different projects. So like I got to go through like kind of boxes of archival material and write summaries, and like this would be stuff that like, I hadn't really looked through before. So I was like finding like kind of weird and new things inside and that, which was like really interesting. I got to kind of look at like how they like protect like the objects in there. So they have like kits that they make in case there's like an emergency, and like how to like save the books if there's a flood. That's kind of like things I wouldn't have considered. And then kind of as well like the more kind of long and like tedious parts of the process, like you might have to like scan thousands of photographs and renumber them, and just kind of what's involved in that. So I tried to get me like a really good insight into like everything that's involved in archiving, and like how like it's important like archive materials that the historian can connect with it. And then as well from being into it, I kind of got to see how like even if you're not interested in the archiving process, like there's so many materials that if you aren't really sure of a research topic, there's probably something in there for everyone too.
Yeah, and it's nice that that the MA students in particular, I think, have a good connection with the special collections area, and they're able to utilize some of that material in their dissertations. Depending, I suppose, on where they are in the world, there's practicalities there too, but there's a lot of digital material there as well that's catalogued too. But it's a really nice relationship that they have with the UL archive team there as well. So it's great. So I'm just going to ask you what you enjoyed most about the program. It's probably hard to kind of pinpoint some areas at times, but Patrick, you might elaborate on what you're enjoying most currently. I know you're still in the process of doing the MA, but
Yeah,
what's
yeah. So still just coming to the end of the first semester, I suppose. So yeah, I think for me so far it's been like so it's a module digital public history, so it's kind of focusing on how do we make public history, in the digital age, stuff like that. How do we make it more accessible, things like that. And so I got to take over the UL Public History Twitter account. So that was very good, or X, that was very good just to get some experience doing that. And obviously going forward, that could be good, good practice in case you ended up with, a museum or something like that, an institution where you could do something similar. And also through that, we are right now doing our final assignment, which is to make a podcast as well. So that, I think that's really interesting, and it's an area that's very popular right now as well, especially in the history field. And even actually just look, like, it's very interesting to look at actually how people do it, and the writing surrounding it, and tutorials, things like that are actually really interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that done, and yeah, just trying to produce like content and stuff like that, I think is very interesting in the public history field.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more important, isn't it? That kind of digital piece as well, and engaging in different ways with an audience or the public in general, So it's great to develop those digital skills as well as part of the course you're studying as well. And Naomi, I might ask you the same question. You're still in UL, so I assumed you enjoyed the masters at some
Yeah.
level, but is there any specific area that you really, really enjoyed through the course of your MA?
I really like the variety of modules that we got to choose from, because like going in, like I wasn't really like fully set on like a research topic, and I feel like it really helped me kind of like decide on what I was interested in, like ways to explore it. I really found the cultural history seminar really, really good as well, because like cultural history is something I wouldn't have really looked into in my undergraduate degree, and now it's kind of shaped like what I did for like my master's dissertation, what I'm doing for my PhD as well. And then even just getting to meet people like also doing the masters in history and seeing like how they research and how they develop their skills like really helped me as well, like focusing on like different ways to find sources and how to deal with things, and just how everyone else is like experiencing it too. So I just feel like the full thing was really enjoyable, but I definitely love like the different types of modules we got to do.
Yeah, and there's quite a variety there, and they're all quite different. So it's nice to have that variety in your elective choice as well on the MA history program. So is there anything, and you kind of touched on it there actually, Naomi, around the cultural history module and kind of changing your thinking, but can you pinpoint anything that would have been transformative in how you would approach history now that you wouldn't have had before doing the MA program?
And
You
yeah,
might
definitely.
elaborate on
So
that.
like during the program, I feel like we did like a lot of presentations and kind of sharing our work like with other people. And I feel like in the undergraduate degree, like even though we would have done presentations, it wouldn't have been kind of as personal. So now I just feel like I'm more likely to like talk to other people about what they think like would be better, or like what kind of methodology they think that they'd take if they were going to do it, and just kind of like seeing how other people research history and like running my ideas like by them. And I feel like that's really helped me as well, like going forward to see, okay, I need to like develop this bit more, or maybe like I could do this in a different way so it would just make more sense. So I think like definitely like sharing ideas and like connecting with the lecturers, like that would be something else.
Very good. And Patrick, do you have anything to add there? I know you're still in the course year studies and you're kind of nearly one semester down, but
Yeah.
is there anything that's impacting you at the moment that you wouldn't have necessarily thought before entering into the masters?
I think just the course in general, I suppose, it's so kind of far-reaching, which I didn't expect. Like, I think so much of public history is actually like all around us, like even the choice of the road name beside you, stuff like that, or just so many cultural institutions, so many decisions made on how cities are built and how they look, and towns, etc. So I think the kind of far-reaching aspect, and similar as well, is just yeah, I suppose, as Naomi was saying, with the difference with the undergraduate, is that you kind of are starting to get to know other history practitioners as well, and connect with people, even stuff like, yeah, like online stuff like that. And yeah, you're getting to see what other people are interested in, and then there could be a case in the future to do some research together, stuff like that. So there is that practical aspect too, of if you're gonna do any projects, stuff like that, you can definitely reach out to people and see what research they've done, stuff like that.
And it's funny, even with the classes as well, like they create their own networks then as well amongst the different class cohorts, like and I think particularly in public history, there's a mix of people that are working in that sector, and people coming from an undergrad degree. So it's a nice mix
Yeah.
actually. Also, so there's a network that you can access through the lecturers, and but also potentially through your own class network as well. And you see that a lot on a lot of our master's programs outside of history, but also in this department as well. So finally, I'll just close this section with asking what advice you would give to anyone thinking of applying to do further study in history. I might start with you first, Naomi, there, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I think when I was looking at applying for the masters, what was kind of holding me back was everyone's like, oh, why don't you just do teaching? That's like a way more secure career. Like, what are you going to get out of this? And I feel like if you're not passionate about something, you won't really stick with it. Like, I have friends who went into teaching just because that's what you're kind of told to do out of art. So I feel like if this is something you feel like you'd enjoy, and even if you don't know what job you want at the end of it, like you will have like chances to experience things and you might come across something that suits you better. So I feel like just if this is something you want to do, you should definitely do it for yourself.
That's great advice, and follow your interest and your passion is always good advice, isn't it? Patrick, do you have any advice for potential applicants?
Yeah, honestly, I completely agree with that. I mean, it's funny you mentioned teaching. I actually did teach for a year. I just taught like English in Australia, and like I was kind of thinking, it is that thing. Like if this is your passion, you really should try and pursue it in whichever way you think is the best to do it. And an MA, definitely, if you're thinking about it, exactly, you really don't have to think in your head like, oh, but what job is going to come out of this? If you're passionate and you follow it through, then I think you'll land on your feet in that sense, definitely. Yeah.
And it's important to note, even I touched on it in the presentation there, but there's people who've totally pivoted their careers. Padraig Hogan, I should say, which I mentioned in the presentation, he was an engineer for years, and he always had a passion to pursue history, in particular genealogical research and that sort of thing. So now he's working for a different company, and he's a fascinating job. I'd actually love to nearly do I think he should be featured in a program or something. It's just a fascinating job that he has, that he's tracking down long lost relatives and that sort of thing. So there's some really interesting roles. We've had a lot of particularly history of family graduates that have set up genealogical research businesses. We've people working across various archives in Ireland and abroad. We've people working in the museum and public history sector, so there's the career opportunities are there, and also further study in academia is another route as well. So it may appear like people are trying to figure out what the career pathways are, but there are opportunities. And I know Carol Mullaney Dignam in particular is always advertising anything that comes up, any opportunities in that area, as do all the lecturers in the department as well. So I'll move on now to our question and answer part of this session. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type in the chat. You're muted and your cameras are turned off, but you can type questions in the chat if you have any burning questions for myself. I don't see anyone typing yet, but I'll give it a few seconds in case you're pondering all the content that you've kind of engaged with here today. We'll just give it a couple of minutes. It's always this dead silence, waiting for people to type. I don't see anyone typing there at the moment, but also just to say I'll be sending out an email to all registered attendees after this call, and you'll have my email then if you want to email me with any queries or questions. And the applications are open for all our MA programs now, and the closing date is August the 14th, 2025. So just so people are aware of that as well. And I think that's it. I don't see any questions coming through, but I just want to say a special thank you to Naomi and Patrick for giving up their time today. I really appreciate it. I know Patrick's probably in warmer climes than us here in Ireland, in Spain, but yeah, thank you so much for all your insights. It's been really useful, and I really appreciate you coming today as well, and to all attendees as well, actually, for coming along. And Jill, just saying thank you for your insights, which is much appreciated as well. Okay, so thanks guys, thanks everyone, and we'll leave it there. So, and appreciate your time. All right, take care. Bye bye.